All right, well, fantastic. As I always say, it's going to be a great one on That's Classic, but it really will. I have a gentleman today that I've been looking forward to talking to. He has had quite a career, actually. He starred in the HBO series Arliss. He also starred in Bull Durham, Batman, Good Morning Vietnam. He was in Blaze with Paul Newman, Mistress with Robert De Niro. It goes on and on. So I want to welcome Robert Wuhl. Robert, thanks for being here.
Well, it's kind of you. I appreciate everything you said. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Oh, you got it. You got it. Believe me, I've enjoyed all your work. So you know what? Why don't we start off? Actually, I was curious about Good Morning Vietnam and what when I look at the film and I see your moments with Robin Williams, I was curious. Was it constantly like were you guys constantly busting a gut off set? Is that what the vibe was?
Well, we had fun, no doubt, and we all got along. I mean, we were all guys. There was no women involved,
Yeah.
so and we all got along, and it was a great mix of people. I mean, I had known Robin for let's see, when did we shoot that? About 87, 86. I don't
Sounds
remember
about
what,
right.
but I had known Robin since the clubs. In the
Wow.
imprint, so that's back in the 1979 or so, 78, before Mork. So we knew each other. We were friends, so it was great that he had somebody that he, knew the comedy world, and Barry was great because he had been from that world, Levinson. The rest of the cast, I just saw Richard Edson for the first time in 100 years about 2 weeks ago. Um, I mean, it was great. I mean, I met a dear friend, Bruno Kirby,
Oh, he was great.
who became a dear friend and my guru of life, and I miss him every day. And
I bet.
one of the great actors, and cared about it. And Forrest Whitaker and J.J. Walsh. I mean, these are great people. Noble Willingham. I mean, we had a great time. It was hot. It was hot. That's what I remember. But it was a great time. Barry, loves a loose set, likes to play. He had a perfect, when I read the script, I said, this is going to work. I said, it's a perfect vehicle for him. Because up to that point, Robin hadn't had a big hit movie.
Before we go on with the interview, I just wanted to remind you to please subscribe to That's Classic if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so that you'll know when my next episode is being released. Okay, let's go on with the interview.
He really hadn't. They hadn't found, for lack of a better, not the formula, I hate that term, but they hadn't found a vehicle
Hmm.
where it had a story, a good story, yet there were moments where he could do his thing. And of course, being a disc jockey, he could do that. So it was it was terrific.
Yeah, he could just rip, you know.
Yeah.
That was it. By the way, how much of that was improv that he was doing?
On the air,
Yeah, when he was
I
actually at
would
the mic.
well, I would say probably when you say improv, let's get this right. There was a script. It's a blue, so I'm sure he took it off that. So, and then he would write. They would have jokes, and he would. I would write jokes. He would write jokes. David Steinberg, his manager, would write jokes. So we were constantly Barry would refer jokes. So there's always something going on there in the studio.
Uh-huh.
On the, I mean, you'd always play. I mean, we don't. I mean, Barry likes that. But you did have a structure. And to think that we made it up on the spot is not being fair, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, sure.
So whenever I hear this, oh, they made it up on the spot, yeah, they may have made a line up on the spot or they made some up. But a movie being made up on the spot is pretty much doomed to fail, I would think.
Yeah, I gotcha. It's funny to watch you in the background when he's saying his stuff. When you lose it, I mean you really lose it. I mean, you crack up, and I'm thinking I think I would too. I mean, you're watching that action happening right, right in front of you. It's got to be pretty amazing. I don't know.
Keep in mind, you might be watching the fourth take.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you've heard the jokes three times already.
Right.
It's not like, oh man, he's cracking up. Thinking he probably, it's like, and Robin had to tell him 5 times already.
Yeah.
There is, it's movie making. It's,
Yeah.
it's, oh God, when he said that joke, you hit the floor. Well, which take was that?
Yeah,
It's like,
right.
I didn't hear this the first time then. It's like, did he do something different? It's movie making.
Yeah.
That's what,
By the way, you mentioned meeting him in the clubs, obviously early on in the 70s. Was he basically the same guy even then, or you know, uh, before he became, quote unquote, Robin Williams? What or had he changed at all?
well, everybody changes. I mean, so, when he came into a clubs, he would destroy dead clubs. There was nobody had seen anything quite like him before. There had been other things like him, but not quite like him. And having as quick as he would play, he had the street performers. He had a Juilliard background with a street performers experience. I mean, and he had, and he comedy, and on top of it, he's a genius. So
Yeah.
you had all that. Um,
Wow.
he became better. He became more, how do you describe Robin? He was always a great person, good person there. He was, his life underwent a bunch of changes. He was married, then he wasn't married, then he was married. So that comes into the equation. The drugs definitely come into the equation. He's on them and he's off them. Um, so was he the same person? Well, he was clean when he was sober when we did Good Morning Vietnam. It was
Mhm.
after and in fact, I remember. I forgot who it was on the set was reading Wired one day on the set,
Oh boy.
which was the who's the Woodward book
Yeah,
about
Bob Woodward.
John Belushi, and he was reading about so and so, and of course everybody say, hey, keep that away from Robin. It ain't such a good idea because he's in the book, about the overdose and everything. So
Yeah. Oh yeah. Him and De Niro. I remember that.
so yeah, so they said keep it away, and I think Robin actually saw it, the book. And he was so cool about it. He was just like, he just said it was a different time. And he goes, yeah, yeah. He didn't get into true, false, all that kind of stuff like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah, and Robin was not on all the time. Let's get that out of the way. To me, Robin was a very serious, smart, caring human being who was very well read, was interested in all kinds of things, spiritual, science, everything. He was as smart as it got that way.
Hmm.
So, but he could turn it on like that.
Yeah.
Nobody went to 0 to 60 like him. Nobody.
No. Yeah.
So Good Morning Vietnam remains a great memory.
Oh yeah. Well, just to kind of add closure to that, when was the last time you saw him?
Robin's dead.
No, I mean before he passed. When was the last time you had seen him? I mean, because obviously there's quite
I
a bit of
mean,
time
because
between
if I said, what
movies.
if I said yesterday? I said we had lunch. We had lunch. We meant to invite you. Um, when was the last time? I'll tell you, the last time I saw him was I went to see him in the play he did on Broadway
Hmm.
about something in the Bengal tiger. Um,
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about, but I can't get the
and
title
I
out of
went
my
back
head.
and when I saw him backstage briefly afterwards, and he was a lot more somber than usual. I mean, he was happy, nice to see me and every friendly, but he was, I'm sure he had the diagnosis by that time. Because I asked Billy Crystal one time, but how did it affect? He goes, yeah, it affected him a lot. He
Hmm.
goes, so he would, so I think he already had it, but he was with the new wife, and he just got into the car.
Yeah,
So that's it.
I got you. Okay. Hey, fair enough. No, I appreciate you sharing that. Well, let's talk a little bit about Arliss. I mean, obviously you did 7 seasons, and am I right? You wrote. In fact, did you write the pilot? Did you create it?
Yeah, I was a creator. I was a creator. I
Wow.
wrote a lot. I was the executive producer on the show. It's like my fingerprints are all over that. I
Yeah,
have
it's your baby. Yeah.
guilty, yeah.
So how long had that been kind of processing before it actually made it, on the air?
A couple of years, because originally Mike Tolan came to me with Mike Tollin came to HBO with the idea of doing a Spinal Tap of Sports. This is about 1994,
Hmm.
95. Wow, it's 30 years ago. The and he said, Spinal, you go from each sport to each sport to each sport, do a Spinal Tap thing of that. And I had a relationship with HBO. I had done a lot of work there. I had done an comedian special. I'd done a bunch of stuff with them. And so I had a relationship. So they referred him to me to see if I would get involved as a writer of some kind. We'd come up with something.
Hmm.
And I told Mike and David Permit, who was also the producer on it, I said, look, I've seen this before. The Muppets did something like this. I said, the Spinal Tap of Wimbledon, the Spinal Tap of this. I go, why don't you? What I'd like to do is, miniseries were big then. I'd love to write a miniseries based on a sports agent, and no one had done anything on sports agents then. No one had, not that they were around.
Sure,
They were
sure.
around. It wasn't like it wasn't, it's like, but no one had done it in any kind of form yet. Let's see, Jerry Maguire doesn't come out till I think midway between our first and second season or something like that. I don't know,
Oh,
but whatever. It's like a cop show. They just, yeah, two people had cop shows. Yeah, no kidding. So,
yeah.
but no one. So I said, anyway, so we came up with that idea, and then by the time we realized it had to be a series if you're going to do it, and and I came up with the idea of telling a satire of sports, which is a world I knew, told through the eyes of a very self-serving sports agent.
Hmm.
Right? I just thought, at least in the beginning, although it's business, the more I think about it, it's about it. Well, in the beginning, it was broader, but he was see, my father ran a business. We have a family business, so I understood business. so
Yeah, yeah.
so I did it that way. And that's what that. And so we wrote it. I wrote the pilot about 5 times. I stepped away, in fact, from the project for like 2 days. And then finally there was a changeover from in hierarchy at HBO. Chris Albrecht took over, and Chris, was with me at the improv. He managed the improv one, which Chris put me on stage basically. So
That's
he said,
pretty cool.
"I don't know sports, but I know funny. This is good. So I think this is funny." So that's how it started. And then I think we went on the air in. When did we go in here? 1976, 77, somewhere around there. 76, I think. I don't
Was
know.
it was it 76? No.
75? I mean, not
It was
75, 96, 95.
96.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
I was like, wait a minute. No. No, I
It's-
get you. I was like, wow. That was much earlier than that.
I
No,
must be thinking about my upcoming ages.
so there were a lot of sports stars on there. I mean, a lot. Who would you put up? I mean, look, Michael Jordan, Kobe, Brett Favre. I mean, you could just go on. Kelly Slater. I mean, I'm just thinking of going the different, Oscar De La Hoya. Where for you, who were some of the, I guess maybe the funnier moments or the moments that really, it was like you really love that one.
I like meeting all of them. Um, the key was in the beginning, we had a lot more cameos. And then I knew we had to have it for color, for textures. I always said texture.
Hmm.
Much more involved. I was much more interested in the stories.
Hmm.
So for me, it was always, okay, how do we incorporate them into the story? Because if they're not part of the plot, they're part of the problem. I mean,
Hmm.
we're gonna go over schedule. We're gonna be, and when we did never went over schedule. So I loved all of them. Also, I love working with the athletes. What was interesting about them is, as athletes, you're used to, if you're a good athlete, you're coachable,
Hmm.
which means you're directable. So not unlike when an athlete does reps, you know, every time he would do a take, it was a rep. So that, the couple of takes, they would get, going, and they would get better, most of them with, a couple of reps. So,
Hmm.
and the key is don't ask them to do something they're not capable of doing.
Hmm.
No, it's like they're here to just for texture. They're here to push some kind of plot along from some exposition, perhaps. But don't ask and try to incorporate them well. Who's got a sense of humor? But don't ask them to do some acting short they're not capable of doing.
Hmm.
Um, Now, some of them, were very, we, who was what's his name? He had the president. What was Lincoln? Was it Lincoln Washington? What was his name? Lincoln Jeffrey. He used to be on Seattle. Lincoln Kennedy.
Okay.
Kennedy, we found out, was a drama minor in college. So I could give him more. I could give him more. I could let him do basically, it was about his mother was dying and we're transferring the body to wherever he wants her buried.
Wow.
And I asked him to watch, because he was a drama guy. I said, watch It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. And
Oh.
watch when Dick Shawn is crying about his mama.
Hmm.
That's where I'm going with this thing. And so he did it, and he could get it. He knew where he was going. I mean, that helped. I'm not going to take the announcers and the journalists and people who are in front of cameras in the same as athletes,
Right.
because they're all good. They're all good. The ones I liked were most of them I love. I love working with. Oh my God, what's his name? Middleweight boxer, great boxer,
Floyd
Ray.
Mer Mer
No, no, Floyd was on. Floyd was on twice. Floyd was on our first year in one of our first episodes. He hadn't yet. He had just come out of the Olympics, and I maybe had a fight or two. Bob Arum, understanding publicity, put
Yep.
him on the show, and he was pretty boy Floyd Mayweather back then. He
Oh
wasn't
yeah, yeah.
Rodney Mayweather, and then he became champion, and then he came on about 5 years again later. So it's funny when you see the guys young. I remember the first thing Kobe Bryant ever shot was Arliss, really, any kind of, because he had just signed just got out of high school, signed a contract. We were doing the scene in down in Long Beach in that gym, and I knew Kobe grew up in Italy, so I figured he's got to be able to speak Italian. So
Yeah.
we did a scene where he and I could converse in Italian in some way, and have it'd be funny with. And Kirby knew how to curse in Italian. Now the amazing thing is, I think he had just signed, I think, with the $40 million contract, or whatever it was, 14, 40, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's shooting in this gymnasium, and I'm watching. We're doing this shot, and I'm saying, "Who's that person over there?" I see somebody. He goes, "Oh, that's his social worker." I go, "Excuse me?" They go, "Social worker. He's under 18." And I'm saying, "Didn't he just sign a $40 million contract?" I go, who cares if he's 14, 17? It's like, but it was like, wow. So anyway, I don't know where I lost track, but who were the athletes? But I mean, I loved, Kobe was great. He was a kid.
He was
Um,
17. I mean, come
yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah, he was pretty special.
Oh,
The I was just like, I mean, just I loved all of them. I mean, there was only like it was the people. We never had trouble. The biggest thing we had to do was schedules. We
mhm.
were under a time crunch because the athlete, with very rare exceptions, we never wrote a part specifically for an athlete ever, because
Interesting.
it's because it changes. I
Uh-huh.
mean, something happens. 1 second, forgive me, please.
Sure. No worries. Believe me, like I say, life happens.
So no, because you don't know what's going to happen. They may get injured. Something may happen. You don't know.
Yeah.
So we would write for an athlete, and then you were also at the behest of who's in town, what teams are playing in town.
Hmm. Hmm.
Where are the teams? Like golfers are always on the road. So unless you have them the week of the Riviera, they're
Right.
they're always someplace else.
Yeah, you had Tiger. You had Tiger on,
Yeah, we
right?
stole we stole a shot at Tiger. Yeah, we stole a shot for the opening. Yeah.
What about, hey, by the way, what about Brett Favre? I happen to be a Packer fan. I'm just
Believe it or
curious.
not, I wasn't there the day he shot,
Oh my gosh, that's too
but
funny.
everybody liked him. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody liked him.
Yeah. And then another one, obviously Michael Jordan. I mean,
We stole a shot at him too.
did you really? Oh my gosh, that's funny. You had Pete Rose, I think is another one that
Yeah,
comes
Pete Rose was
to
on
mind.
the show. He played Pete Rose. He did at a card show, at an autograph show, which was where he would be. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow, interesting. Anyway, it just kind of blows my mind that it ran for a long time. And then you had wasn't Bobcat Goldthwait on there as well?
I believe he was. I
Yeah.
think maybe the pilot episode. I'm not even sure. I mean,
Yeah, wow.
Bobcat. Again, I know Bobcat from Robin back in the stand-up days.
Oh yeah, yeah, without a doubt. Did you, by the way, thinking of that when you were on the, you were doing the comedy circuit, was your goal always to be, like in movies or be in
Yes.
television? Is that where you were always going for it?
Yes, or theater, or something like that. Yes. I never thought, I didn't never thought about being a stand-up comic long term. To me, it
Hmm.
was I wrote an act and I could do this, and it was a gateway. Um, and so I never thought about it. And it's funny because my goddaughter had never seen me perform.
Hmm.
And about 2, 3 years ago, she said, what do you want for your birthday? And she goes, I want to see you do stand-up. So I was Mike Lacey and Comedy and Magic Club and Jay Leno were nice enough to let me go on. And I had a great time. I did about maybe 10, 15, maybe 10 minutes. But it was fun. I had a good time. It was fun.
Well, I mean, it's in your blood. I mean, there's no doubt
Yeah, but
about
the
that.
audience has changed. See, I mean, you're a lot older.
Yeah,
I mean, you remember back then, you go to the comedy club, it's your age for the most part.
true.
With rare except, I mean, the Comedy and Magic Club, Hermosa Beach, is different. They're there to
Yeah.
see Jace. It's a more mature club. But the audience is different. So you have to keep that in mind.
Wow, that is a big deal, actually. I never thought about that. What now? The other one that comes to mind, obviously, is Bull Durham. I mean, I gotta say, I've even seen it ranked as the number one sports movie of all time. I mean, it's that good.
Nice. That's nice.
Yeah,
In
I
the
mean,
conversation.
yeah, pretty amazing. Same thing there. What was it like when the cameras weren't rolling?
Oh, that
Uh,
was another good one. That was because, again, mostly guys.
yeah, that's what I was
It
thinking.
was mostly guys. Uh, and you're a ball club. So again, like
Right.
an army, you were in the army, you're part of a team. You're in a ball club, you're part of a team. Um, and Kevin, Susan, Tim, all super cool. And we had a good piece of prose. We were nobody thought it was going to be a hit. Baseball movies were never a hit. So no one ever thought we thought we are doing, pardon me, a
Yeah.
nice piece of we knew we were doing good prose.
Hmm.
That's what we knew we were doing. I knew we were doing. And I developed a relationship with my dear friend, Ron Shelton. So that's, by the way, if you want to read a great book about not only making of a movie and screenwriting and how a movie gets made, it's also about following your dreams to a point. Ron Shelton's book, the Church of Baseball, is phenomenal. It's a great read. It is just a one, and he has all the stories, including my horrible audition.
Your horrible audition.
Horrible. After I left, he said that was the worst audition I ever saw. To the
Oh,
casting, the casting director apologized for bringing me in, and he said that might be the worst audition I ever saw. Hire him immediately.
wait, what? Do you remember it being the worst audition?
Absolutely, absolutely. The
Did, what,
it's word for word in the book. I mean, because
oh,
we talk baseball. See, that was one thing he knew. He goes, Robert could remember Ron was real. If
mhm,
it was a cop, it was like, think about it. If it was a cop movie, think Ron was an ex-cop, right?
yeah,
And he knew that I knew the world of cops, that my uncle had been a cop, my father. So he knew he had someone he could talk to on a technical about baseball. So
yeah.
plus we loved it and we loved the pros and we used it and with sense of humor, of course. But no, I remember my audition completely. The thing is in the script, I don't think Larry has, I'm sure he doesn't have 10 lines. I'm sure he doesn't have 10
Wow.
lines. Maybe. So I'm trying to find something. And Bruno Kirby, again, may he rest in peace. We had just done Good Morning Vietnam. And so Bruno became my acting guru, as I said. So I
Hmm.
said, I'm trying to find something about this character. He's the pitching coach. It's him and the skipper. It's a two-man staff. And what is it? It's just an intention that you can hang on to play off. And Bruno just said, well, it seems to me that if the manager is promoted, more than likely he takes the pitching coach with him.
Hmm.
And I thought, yes, that is exactly what happens. So I said, okay, I got it now. He's a yes man. I said, he's totally a yes man. So that way, when and my dad had played ball. in so not at the major league level, but up to the he had auditions. But I knew all the jargon, the hum baby, nobody here, I got you taking it to go. I knew all that stuff.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So between that and doing the skipper, and we became a comedy team. Ron totally knew we had a comedy team that he could cut to. So, I mean, the lollygaggers, it wasn't written that way. We just bounced off of each
That
other.
was
I
hysterical,
mean,
by the way, the lolly.
but Trey Wilson, I mean, that's Trey Wilson. I mean, the world is so poor not to have him as an actor.
Yeah, how did it go? It was like lollygaggers or
I
something.
mean,
Yeah.
he was great. So and I walked in and I did all this. There's where I went off book and did improvisational stuff. And um, like I said, I was all over the place.
Yeah, I had seen, I mean, I did a ton of research on you, and I did see one. I can't remember if I saw it in an interview or if I saw it in an article, but there was one where you improvised. It's a pretty well-known moment. It's the time like you're on the mound and you had to oh geez. It's the wedding like
Yeah,
wedding
sure,
present.
sure.
Yeah, you improvised that.
I improvised a line, and only because Ron Shelton allowed me to. Let me explain. I have to set up the situation.
Yeah.
It's it was the last shot of the night. It was very cold. If you watch Bull Durham, you'll see it. We were in November, and you see the breath. You could see the breath.
Yeah.
You see it. It was cold then. So it's about 4 in the morning. We knew this was going to be the last shot of the day, and the day ended. We had to shoot nights until 4 in the morning. So Ron said, "Okay." And as the scene went, it was exact same setup. I mean, nothing. And the way it was written was, I go, what the hell's going on here? And Crash Davis says, Nuke's father is in the stands. The first baseman's girlfriend has put a curse on his glove, and we don't know what to get Millie and Jimmy for a wedding present. We're dealing with a lot of shit here. And my line is, oh, I thought there was a problem. Okay, let's go. That was it. It was like, oh, I thought there was a problem. We did that 2 or 3 times.
Yep.
Ron Shelton said, okay, one more shot, one more. Robert, get 2 cameras going here, get a wide and say, Robert, I know you've been sitting in over there all day. You came up with something. I know you did. So go ahead, whatever you want. Now I have the backstory. About a week before shooting, a good friend of Barbara and mine was getting married. So I asked Barbara, what do I get her for a wedding present? And she said, well, candlesticks always make a nice gift, or find out where she's registered. Maybe it's silverware pattern. Okay, so Ron says, okay, whatever you want. So they did the exact same setup. Nuke's father is in the stands. Diego's girlfriend's put a curse on his glove, and we don't know what to get with Millie and Jimmy with her a wedding present. We're dealing with a lot of shit here. And I just said, well, candlesticks make a nice gift, or find out where she's registered, and maybe a silverware pattern. Okay, let's get 2. It's like, and the release is what really kind of makes it work too. But that's a run. Now, that being said, the next day we go to Daly's, and with Ron's crew, everybody would come out. At the end of the day, after dinner, you grab an adult beverage, an adult smoke, and we all get together and watch the dailies.
Fantastic.
And a lot of sets. I don't know if they do that anymore because everything's digital now.
Yeah.
So we're all around, and the dailies come in order. The first one's the first one. So we go through all these dailies. We go through about an hour's worth of dailies, and then you see the scene, and then the last one is, well, Candlestick always makes a nice gift, and the place exploded in laughter. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. I'm glad it worked. There's not a chance he's ever going to put it in the film, because if you know writer directors, most of them will say it's funny, it's in character, it works, but I didn't write it, so it's not going into my movie.
Yep.
The good ones, Barry Levinson, Tim Burton, Ron Shelton, Jason Wright. I mean, the good ones, they don't care about that. That's the idea. It's an organic process. Let's go. If you can come up with something better, let's go. So I never thought it was going to be in the movie. Fast forward about 4 or 5 months, and they're doing a screening of a rough cut screening of it, and it's there. And the play and everybody's laughing. I was shocked. Now, here comes the part. And this is all in the book. The studio wants to cut it out.
Oh,
The
come
studio
on.
wants to cut it out. They want to cut out the entire scene on the mound. The entire scene. The whole thing
What?
with the father and everything else. It's like they want to cut. And they say it doesn't push the plot. And Ron said, "What plot? There's no plot." He goes, "What plot are you talking about?" And he goes, "This is what the movie's about." And the only reason it stayed in, the only reason, is because when you do these test screenings, they give you cards to fill out afterwards to test.
Yeah.
What's your least favorite character? Who's your favorite character? What's your favorite scene? What's your least favorite scene? The scene on the mound was always number one or number two, always. So they
Oh
had
my
to keep it in.
gosh.
And it worked out.
It's so funny how many times I hear a story like that, and it'll be the studio executives or whatever that come in that have no like no sense of the
Well,
creativity
yeah,
or
but you only hear about yes, that does happen often. But there
yeah.
are studio, but also keep in mind there are a lot of studio execs who may not get it, but they trust the filmmaker enough with their job,
Yeah,
not to let it go. So, I mean, this is then, it's a different world now. I mean,
sure.
because you're dealing with a different audience. You're
Yeah.
dealing with a totally different audience.
Another situation where it's totally different. Yeah,
Oh,
I,
totally.
I get it. I get it. Um, gosh, I mean, seriously, Robert, you have had really some amazing moments. The other one is, Batman, which, by the way, I'm kind of cracking up. It just dawned on me. Behind you, you've got Batman, Bull Durham, and Good Morning Vietnam, which I couldn't ask for a better setup there. But I can't believe I didn't catch it right away because I've been looking at you. But with Batman, obviously incredible cast. I think it's a great movie. I've always thought that was one of the better ones. But what was it like for you? First of all, did you audition for it?
Oh, sure. Oh,
Oh, you did?
sure.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of the few. I had a champion in a woman named Marion Dougherty, who was the grand doyen of all casting directors. She started the casting director business, and she gave people like Dustin Hoffman, Gene Hackman, Robert Duvall. She cast Robert Duvall in To Kill a Mockingbird. I mean,
Oh,
she liked me. She liked me, and so she put me and she brought me in to meet Tim. She brought me in to read first, and then she brought me to meet Tim Burton. And she championed me for that. God bless her. God
oh,
bless her.
that's cool. That's really cool. Did you, by the way, how did you take because there's a lot of different ways to be like a reporter, and some people would just I don't know. I guess you just read the lines, but by the way, I have an acting background as well. So when I look at that, I think, where did you go as an actor? Like, did you create a bio for the guy? Did you go someplace? What was your thoughts on that one?
I did visit the newsroom of the New York Daily News, which
Hmm.
I thought was because that's Gotham. I mean, so
Hmm.
I talked to reporters. I also I'm inquisitive by nature, so that was easy. I'm cynical. I'm not cynical. I'm very, very skeptical. I don't want to say cynical
Hmm. Hmm.
because I think of the Oscar Wilde line, a cynic knows the cost of everything but the worth of nothing. So
Right.
I'm ultra skeptical. Let's put it that way,
Yeah. Yeah.
by nature. Also, keep in mind, you're playing a reporter, but you're playing a reporter in a Tim Burton movie, which means
Hmm.
you are stylistically part of his animated world.
Hmm.
So, and I always hope to be as natural as possible. That's just,
Hmm.
but it was that's another one. That was so, you're talking about something very special. I really believe I would go on a court and raise my Tim Burton should get a royalty for every Marvel movie, every DC movie, all of them, because
Hmm.
he set the template. He
Hmm.
set it for every people don't remember, even in Batman. I once asked John Peters, had it not been Michael Keaton, who would they have cast as Batman? And remember, John Peters, Tim Burton is not Tim Burton then. He's
Hmm.
he's at a he's done. He's done okay. He's had a couple of nice small hits, with Pee-wee's did okay and Beetlejuice did well. So it was all Warner Brothers. He was, it's the greatest. As bad as picking Brian De Palma for Bonfire of the Vanities was, right? At Warner Brothers and by the same producers, uh, that's how great it was that they picked Tim Burton for Batman
Mhm.
because he said it for everybody. But I asked him who, and Tim and wanted Michael, but I asked them who they wanted because
Mhm.
remember their background was Adam West, Bang Zoom,
Yeah.
either Steve Martin or Bill Murray. So think about where this was, how they.
Oh, oh, geez.
Okay, now, however, now let me continue there. They felt, especially in the second one, that it got too dark, and that's it got, which one could argue. And when they hired Joel Schumacher, the thoughts at the studio, because it didn't make as many hundreds of millions, was that he'll bring it back to the old fun bang zoom days,
Mhm.
which did in terrible fashion.
Yeah.
Um, but that's what they were thinking. It was all Tim Burton. It is all
Oh,
Tim.
oh,
He,
that's
he made everything else was pretty forced upon him. I mean, Prince songs were forced upon him. That was
hmm.
not, he did not want Prince songs in this thing, but it was forced upon him by the studio who had a relationship with Prince, they just had a huge hit with Purple Rain with him.
Hmm.
It was the hottest thing, and they were going to put songs in Batman. And the fact that Tim Burton got them to work by shoehorning these things in, that's Tim Burton.
Yeah, that's a genius. Yeah, for sure. What obviously, Nicholson, Jack Nicholson is just he's always exceptional, but he's exceptional in that movie. What was he accessible, as offset? Was he there, like is he a, you know, like
Well, he's there to work. I mean, you could always go up to Jack. I mean, Jack's very special. I mean, Jack, you know, uh, he's one of the, it's Jack. He's Mount Rushmore,
yeah.
uh, and he's a great guy, and arguably one of the great raconteurs and storytellers I've ever met. Oh, he's great. He's great.
Yeah, what
But
did you I mean what any stories from like, while you guys were shooting, anything like that?
a few times he invited me to ride back because Pinewood Studios was about an hour from where we were staying in London.
Ah,
So
yeah.
a few times he invited me to drive back to London with him. So I was in pig's heaven. And he would tell me stories about just about, about the business and about what he did and how much, yeah, and uh, I mean, when he's Jack Nicholson, the stories because he transcends from, let's see, he becomes a star in about 1969. And we're
Hmm.
doing this in when 80. So he'd been a star for 20, for over 20 years already. And still a big star, and he's playing a part where he's running wild, and but the stories, I'm in the park. So one time I'm at this party, and some of the royal family is there, and I'm cooking up Princess Margaret pretty good. It's like, come on, come on.
That was great. That's all you had to do was go to that point.
That's that. He's Jack. He's Jack.
Wow. And Michael Keaton, I mean, there's all these stories about like Keaton, you know, I don't know that he didn't really want to stay with Batman and all of this or whatever. What, any sense of him? I mean, that was a big moment for him to be
Oh,
back.
yeah. I mean, I had known Michael from stand-up days. He was also a stand-up comic.
Oh, wow. I have to admit,
So,
I didn't realize that. I didn't
yeah,
realize he was
Michael
actually
did
on the.
stand-up. Michael was good.
Hmm,
Michael was a good comic, but I knew, but he was an actor doing stand-up comedy.
hmm.
And I'd seen a movie of his, and he's from Pittsburgh, which is my manager's from Pittsburgh, so I know Pittsburgh. And so that's an edge there, and the toughness. And he also did a movie called Clean and Sober, which he
Sure.
played a drug addict. And he's very dark in that. And I said, sure, he can do this. He's going to do this. He goes, but we were lucky that there was no social media back then because
Mhm.
the fanboy world wasn't what it is now. And there was backlash to Michael Keaton being Batman because they wanted to do they kept saying Mr. like in London, Mr. Mum is Batman. And Michael had done, all these, Beetlejuice, yeah, but
Right, right.
he had done, Night Shift and all these comedy, Mr. Mom. So, but I knew he could do it, and he had Tim Burton and he had that suit, and so had there been social media back then, I'm not so sure they would have. But I told you who they thought about otherwise. So tell me,
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. No, I thought he pulled it off. I actually really liked
Oh,
him.
you kidding?
Yeah.
No, he stopped doing them because Tim Burton stopped.
Ah, okay. Interesting. That makes sense. Because yeah, you're right. If you don't have that stylistic look
Yeah,
of
he
Tim
didn't like
Burton,
where
what do you
Joe was
got?
going. He didn't like where Joe was going to go.
I got you. I got you. Hey, by the way, I meant to ask you when we were talking about Bull Durham, Tim Robbins. Obviously, that was a real launching pad for him as well. And he's always been kind of a, quote unquote, like actor's actor. I mean, I know his like background. He always had his acting troupe in LA, and he was like that. What was he like on the set? Was he
Terrific,
is he
terrific.
like normal, or is he like more
He's
like
normal,
method
man. What
actor?
he was like normal. I mean,
Well, I
what?
mean, normal, like, like sometimes when
By the
some
way,
actors
he's
bend,
now doing acting in groups in prison. In
he's what?
prison, he's doing acting groups. Groups in prison.
Is
You know,
that really?
yeah,
Really?
where that's the prisoners that do acting stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Wow. That's very cool.
Tim is very exceptional. Tim is the real deal.
Hmm.
Tim is the real deal. Very smart. Um, because I didn't know who he was. I had no idea. He was in his at that point. He'd been Big Bomb Howard the Duck, and that was a
Hmm.
big bomb. That was a bomb of epic proportions.
One of the biggest.
Yes. So he was wearing that tag, and the studio didn't want Tim Robbins. They wanted Anthony Michael Hall. And Ron and Anthony Michael Hall stood up Ron twice in so many ways. I
Oh,
mean, and Ron wanted to kill him. Plus, he didn't want him.
yeah.
It's like the funny thing was the same executive there who wanted to cut this and cut that, said, Tim Robbins, who was going to believe that Tim Robbins is going to wind up with Susan Sarandon?
Oh, gee, what?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, now that's pretty wild considering obviously they really became, a husband
And
and
it
wife.
was happening in front of me, and I didn't see it.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, it was happening right in front of me during Bull Durham, and they were very good about that. I realized it as I was going to say goodbye when I knocked on the wagon. I was going to say goodbye. I'd wrapped, and I was
Yeah.
going to say goodbye, knocking the door, and it took forever for them to open that door. And I said, "Is something going on here?" Yeah, so there it is.
Wow, that's pretty wild. I love the bit about the executive too. That's like, who would believe that?
Yeah, that's a true story too. Yeah, that's all true.
Those are great moments. I love it. So you go, I mean, literally, it's just amazing who you worked with. Like I'm going through and I'm like, that's right. Blaze, that's right. Whatever. What about well, what about Blaze? Obviously, you got Paul Newman, and that's a pretty cool story. That's the oh my gosh, I can't believe Mamie Van Doren went into my head. That's not what I
No,
meant.
no, it's Blaze Starr. It's
Blaze Star, yeah.
and Earl Long,
Yeah.
Governor Earl Long, Huey's brother. Um, yeah, again, Ron Shelton and I became friendly. So I mean, he wanted me in the next movie, and I was going to play. In fact, it's a good time to talk about this.
Sure.
Um, the guy who was the head of the cronies, a guy named Gaylord Sartain, actor who I recommended to Ron. I said, Ron, this guy should play the part. And he died about 2 days ago. There's been a lot of talk about him. He was in,
Oh.
I met him at Hollywood Nights. Gaylord Sartain. He was on Hee Haw for many years, and he was also, he played also. He was in Mississippi Burning. He played Sheriff Stuckey. He was the sheriff.
Oh,
Uh,
that's an
he was a
intense movie.
great, brilliant actor. He was one of the great comedic, great actors. He had his demons, but I told Ron, watch this. And Ron said, "You lost your part." After he met him, and I said, "Find me something else." So, we did that, and then the one after that, we had talked about Cobb doing the story about Cobb. He loved that story because we both knew it. and he wanted to do that movie. But after he did Blaze, which was not a hit, which did not
Mhm.
do well. But then he did White Men Can't Jump, which was a very big hit, a
Was.
substantial hit, and that gave him the leeway to go do Cobb. So I'm lucky for that. Ron's been very important to me.
Oh, I can tell. So what, by the way, so what, we're talking about it. I mean, you're like icon after icon. I mean, Paul Newman, what was it like working with Paul? I mean, was that
Well, we
kind
didn't have any scenes together. I was there though for the beginning of the read-throughs. And Paul invited Ron and myself over to his house where he was staying he was making chili, Newman's own chili.
of,
The
of course.
so I went over and I had a dinner with Paul Newman, and it was a lovely dinner. I mean, it was a really nice time. He wasn't very tall, and but the chili was good, and he was. I mean, he was an actor. He really got into, he was, everything you see about him is he was a method actor. He had to
Hmm.
know everything, what the character so and so. He didn't work and yet, like Ron said, we'd go and we'd rehearse. He said, let's try to, and we'd go 360 degrees and wind up back at the same place, which happens a lot, by the way.
Hmm.
Um, he was very nice. I mean, like I said, I only had the one dinner with him. Um, he was very nice. It was nothing memorable that night for me. Um, I mean, he had like a frat boy sense of humor. I remember that because like he said practical jokes, like to play practical jokes, like on Redford one day, something Redford did something. So he said, I got a half a ton of horse manure and put it in his car. I said, "Wow, what a practical joke." I go, that's frat boy shit. I mean, that's not, but that gives you an idea of his. I mean, but an actor's actor again. I mean, he's Paul. I mean, he's Paul Newman. I
Yeah, he
mean,
loved it. Yeah. Yeah, I loved what he did. Yeah. What by the way, you mentioned Cobb and I think we got to at least mention that because I thought the casting of Tommy Lee Jones was like dead on personally. I mean, sometimes you look at a movie and who was casted, you go, my gosh, it's hard for me to visualize anyone else playing that role. He's so good in that.
yeah, he is good in that. He was good.
Yeah. Was that
It was going to be either Cobb or Gene Hackman, and
uh,
Warner Brothers, who was
true?
back in the movie, who was the studio, they had just released. When did we shoot? When did Cobb come out? They either just released or the fugitive or just about to release the fugitive.
Hmm.
So that's a Warner Brothers movie. They had done well with another movie that Tommy Lee was in called Under Siege, a Steven Seagal movie.
Oh yeah, I've
He had
seen.
done, and he had a big part in that. So Tommy Lee is taking the next leap right then. And he wins the Oscar for Fugitive. So he was, that was during when we that was during the shooting of Cobb. That's right. That's when we shot it. There's that point. Yeah. Boy.
Yeah, that'll really do it. The and by the way, I would think he'd be an actor's actor too. I mean, he seems so like, he goes full force. He's in there.
Yeah, but different. He's not. You're not looking at method stuff like that. You're just
Hmm,
looking someone who gets the job done.
I
Get the
gotcha.
job. That's what he
Gotcha.
is.
And then hey,
By the way, it doesn't make one right and one wrong. Process
oh,
is
not at all. Trust
no,
me, I
no.
know. I know. Like I said, I've got an acting background. Yeah, a lot of friends in the business, and I know it goes both ways. Whatever works for you, that's how I look at it.
Correct.
Yeah. What, as far as Mistress, excuse me, which was Robert De Niro. By the way, I think that's a really overlooked film, and I think and Martin Landau's in that too.
Best cast I ever worked with. I mean, best performance I ever gave. I totally believe. Uh,
Hmm.
That was special. You talk about special. I mean, it was Tribeca's first film. So it's Robert De Niro's producing. This is when De Niro's at his height. This is De Niro.
Big time.
I mean, this is 90, this is, what is it, 92, 92, 92 around there. So it was, I went back and had to audition 3 or 4 times. And it was great. I mean, every day, first of all, Martin Landau, may he rest in peace, became my hero. In fact, I got lucky on that because I applied to go to the to be part of the academy then, and you need 2 academy members to sign your vote, your card
Right, right.
to support you. What's the word? To recommend you. It's not the word. Sponsor you.
Yes, right.
My two my two people were Martin Landau and Robert De Niro.
I mean,
I
come
got
on.
in. I got in. So,
I
but
bet.
every day, I mean, every day, I got a poster of that over here. You can't see it. Let's see who else. Danny Aiello was great. Eli Wallach was great. Christopher Walken's in the movie. Laurie Metcalf played
Oh,
my
come on.
women in that. Cheryl Lee Ralph, Jean Smart, and it was that was that was fun. I mean, to go to work every day with these people. I mean, that was, it is overlooked. But we unfortunately came out right about a month after The Player, and The Player was the Hollywood hip movie.
Tim Robbins, too.
Yeah, Tim
It's
Robbins,
ironic.
and
Yeah.
ours is about the underbelly. What's interesting to me is that film students used to come up to me and say, as a film student, we love Mistress because that's more what we're going to go through than the player is. The player to me has got all this frou-frou and all the cameos, but basically it's an episode of Columbo. It's like it's a studio executive wants to kill a screenwriter's wife. I mean, that's Columbo.
That's funny. I like that analogy. It's good. Yeah, now, Mistress, and once again, I guess I think about this, from an acting standpoint. When you have a cast like that, like you said, it was fun to go. Do you think that, it's kind of like, I don't know, I don't know how to put it. It's kind of like a sport. It's like when you're playing with like the top dogs, everyone's in the room. Don't you feel like maybe that also
Better,
elevates you?
you're better. I mean, that's the goal. I mean, I don't know, you don't always achieve it, but that's the goal. But they were great. Sometimes I would find myself just watching them, but I couldn't have, especially off camera. It's easy to do because that was the first time I really got to work with Jean Smart, and I said, "Wow, she's good." But everybody, Cheryl Lee Ralph, Laurie Metcalf, man, these are. So see, Barry Primus, the writer director, who was De Niro's good friend, and he was big time actor studio.
Hmm.
It was all Ilya Kazan. It was all, Lee Strasberg. He came from that world. So you had Eli Wallach there and Martin Landau, and they would tell me these great stories. Martin Landau would come with his home photo album, and his good buddy out here when he first came out is James Dean.
Oh, that's right.
He's
I
got
forgot about that.
so that was fun.
He had pictures with him?
Oh sure, oh sure.
Oh, wow.
The and Eli Wallach spans forever. I mean, he talked to me about From Here to Eternity, the stories about that. They offered to him, and he wanted to do Elia Kazan's movie
Oh,
instead. That's how Sinatra got the part. It wasn't any kind of nefarious thing, but it's because Eli Wallach turned it down. And
interesting.
it's great stories every day. I mean, just to hear Martin Landau says when he applied for the actor studio, there were 200 actors that applied, and they took two. He goes, they took 2 people, him and Steve McQueen. So it's just hearing these stories,
I
I'm a
love
sucker
it.
for this. I'm a sucker for this.
Me too. Me too. What I like is you knew, I need to just listen. I need to hear
Plus,
this.
I was old enough to appreciate who I was dealing with. Like when I did movies when I was early, I was trying to make my way, and and of course, but when Batman came, I was old enough to
Mhm.
appreciate this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny you mentioned Hollywood Nights, and I gotta say that is one of those movies that still comes up. I mean, I feel like it's oh, it's not. I don't mean Rocky Horror Picture Show, but it's kind
It's
of
a
like
cult
that.
film. It's
Yeah,
absolutely a cult
there
film.
it is. Yeah, it's like a cult.
Besides Batman, when I do, if I do an autograph show or
Yeah.
something, besides Batman, I would say Hollywood Nights gets more than anything. But does it get more in Bull Durham? I don't Oh, well, it might get more than Bull Durham.
It
People,
shows you.
you know why? It's generational. People, when it first came out, it did okay. It was modest, but it was one of the first pictures in the rotation on HBO back in the day, and they would show it over and over and over, and fathers watched it with their sons and laughed. And then generation changes, and the kids now grow up and they watch it with their kids. And the grandfathers watch it with their grandsons. And it keeps going and going and going. Uh,
Yeah.
so Hollywood Nights has a great, it's got a great legacy.
It's another great cast though too. You've got it's
It was
like
all our first movies.
yeah, I was
Michelle
gonna
Pfeiffer's
say.
first movie, Tony Danza, me, Stuart Pankin.
Yeah.
It wasn't Franz Drescher's first movie, but it was one of her first movies.
Yeah. I had Stuart Pankin on actually. I interviewed him and he mentioned it too. He said what a wonderful, you know, experience that was. But it's kind of funny. Everyone kind of, made it, so to speak, whatever that is, and that's kind of cool, you
It is,
know.
you like to see success. You like to see success. Your friends be successful.
Heck yeah. Another thing and I'm not saying it's related directly to a movie that I saw, you used to write for Rodney Dangerfield. Is that
My
right?
first gig? Yeah, it's my first job.
That was your first job?
Yeah, yeah. Right. That and writing for Rodney Dangerfield and Stiller and Mira.
How did you, I mean, how did
Well,
you,
I was living in. came back from school, and I was when I was starting to do stand-up comedy because that was the idea, the game plan to get seen. I was using, as a role model, stand-up comedy. I was using like Mel Brooks, Woody Allen, Paul Mazursky had been a stand-up
uh-huh.
comedian. So I was using that so people could see me, and they would hire me, and I would either get a. And I had an acting background, so they would either hire me or I'd get a writing job or something. So I was using that as a platform. So I knocked on, and I love Dangerfield. My buddies and I used to watch him in college.
Oh, so
And so I
funny.
knocked on his dressing room door one day, and the manager, I told him I got jokes for Rodney. And he says, okay, he's downstairs in his dressing room. So I knock on the door, and, you hear, I go, hi, my name's Robert Wuhl. I have some jokes for you. He goes, okay, kid, come on in. And they open it up, and Dangerfield was notorious from wearing a robe or something and nothing else, and he'd leave it wide open. He was notorious for this. So he says, we talk a little bit, and he'd say, I goes, okay, let me hear him. I go, hey man, I'm all right now, but last week I was in rough shape, Some guy comes up to me at the airport. He says, loan me $5 till payday. I say, when's payday? He says, I don't know. You got the job. So he'd say, okay, the jokes are good, but don't do me. Uh,
Wow.
and that was my first gig, and I was writing jokes and I was helping him edit. That was the other thing. He liked me to edit. And he was, that's another great guy. Interestingly enough, I saw not too long ago on YouTube, everything is on YouTube.
It is.
I saw the Dangerfield spot on the Tonight Show where my first joke he used. And I saw it. What was interesting is I'll bet a good 30 to 40% of his jokes wouldn't be allowed today.
Yeah, yeah,
I'll
yep.
tell you my wife's fat. Goodbye. You know, you know,
Yeah.
my wife this, goodbye. So my, it's like, I mean, just, there's it's amazing. It changes. Well, things change. That's what it is.
Oh yeah. No,
Anyway,
he was one of the greats. He actually I went to University of Wisconsin-Madison and they shot the movie
oh
that he
yeah,
did there. Yeah. And he's just I don't know, he's an icon. He's just one of those guys. The other one, by the way, the other one that you wrote for is Billy Crystal, right? For is it
yeah,
the
yeah. The
Oscars?
Oscars. Well, we did the Grammys and the Oscars.
Oh, you also did that. Wow. I mean,
Yeah,
hey, listen, I'm not trying to like just, give you praise, whatever, but honestly, he is one of the best that's ever done the Oscars.
without a doubt.
That's some good material.
Yeah, you did, and it was just the two of us at first.
Oh,
It's amazing that you see. It was just the two of us writing Billy stuff. The It's amazing when I see the list of writers for the Oscars, and there's like 20 writers, and it used to be me and Billy, and then Bruce Vilanch joined us the second year.
yeah.
That was it. I mean, it's like, what do you need 30 writers for? It's like it was me, Billy, and Bruce, and it was a perfect vehicle for him too. I mean, it was a perfect vehicle. Again, a vehicle. You got to find, it's just the perfect, it's like putting the perfect person on a ball club in the right spot. And Billy is as talented as he is, and he is talented. This was perfect for me because his style lends itself to like a showman type of thing.
Hmm.
Because he can hold a crowd, he can MC, and he can do a little singing and dancing, and he's brilliantly funny. He's brilliantly
Oh,
funny.
he's so funny.
Yeah, he is great. He's a hero for sure.
Yeah, no, I could see that. You, by the way, this was a total off. I'll be honest with you. I saw it and I was thinking to myself, I really love that movie, but I'm trying to remember, like, I didn't realize you were in it. Was Flashdance, and it
Oh,
said,
what happened was, I mean, I'm in there. The director of Flashdance, when I did Hollywood Nights, was directing a movie called Foxes for the same company, Casablanca Films. Peter Guber and Neil, what was his name? He owned Casablanca Records too. He passed away.
uh-huh,
The so he was shooting this movie, and my agent said, "Look, they want somebody to improvise 2 weeks worth of comedy in this movie." He goes, "Why don't you meet the director?" So I met with Adrian Lyne, and I just told war stories from Hollywood Nights, and I'm sure he had the same with war stories with Goober, and so I mean, so we hit it off. So I got hired for 2 weeks. I don't have a script. I don't have anything. So they put me in the seat behind the lead, Michael Nouri.
yeah,
I
yeah.
just got there for 2 weeks, and I did. And the only reason they paid me, the only reason that I had a line is because, and God bless Adrian Lyne for this. The guy playing the chef, who's also the stand-up comic on
I
stage,
remember him. Yeah.
takes place in Pittsburgh, and he said, "How about those Steelers? So and so, the Steelers." And I went, "Go Steelers!" Right? And they kept that cut in. They kept that line in the movie because they kept that line in the movie. The SAG residuals are based upon: do you have a speaking line?
Yeah.
And it's all based on how much money the movie makes. It's a ratio. Well, if he hasn't put that line in the movie, I don't get residuals because I don't have a speaking partner. And
Yeah.
and he kept it in. And for about a year, I'll tell the story, and I got to wrap up.
Okay, sure.
For about a year, people saying, what about that movie you worked on?" I go, "If this sees the light of day," I go, "let me tell you, I'm sitting in this old guy bar. It's all guys. These women are dancing on stage. Somebody dumps water on them. It's like I have no idea about it. And then, and then it comes. Nobody heard of this thing. There was nothing to. And then it becomes Flashdance. So
Wow.
you never know.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Hey,
Anyway, I
listen,
got to run.
you got it. Robert, loved having you on. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you very much. Thank you for being on That's Classic.
You're very welcome. Thank you for
All
inviting me.
right. Have a great one. Thanks again. Bye bye. Hope you enjoyed the interview. Please don't forget to hit the subscription button and also hit the notification bell right after that so that you get notified whenever I have a new episode. And be sure to check out some of my other interviews: Henry Winkler, Jerry Mathers, Angela Cartwright, Shelley Fabre. It goes on and on. They're so great. Enjoy.